So, my name is Mattias. I started working in Ericsson. I'll be going through the landscape a bit to see what project and something we have. So firstly, how to find it. If you go to our eminent little webpage there, we've got a community link there at the top. So if you go to that one there, you will find this landscape down. Let's see here. So, but before I'm going to dive into this one here, I'm going to talk a little bit about a life cycle of a product. So we have that one in mind where we look at this. So in the community, we have a 3-stage life cycle. So projects can then be in the stage of sandbox. This is for like startup projects that are starting and or have not gained enough traction yet within the community. Our second one then is graduated, and this is for projects that have a stable usage, a stable maintainers base also. So here we require that we actually have maintainers from 2 different organizations, but you only have 1 year still in the sandbox. So for example, the Eiffel protocol, which is the only one that is actually graduated, there we have both maintainers from Access and from Ericsson. Then last one here is archived. This is wherein we want to say, okay, this project is probably not going to get any updates. You of course can use it, but don't expect people to support you that much in it. And of course, if a project, if someone comes along and says, I'm going to pick up this project and then continue to maintain it, if it's archived, we can revert the archive back to sandbox. So if we're going through the landscape a little bit, let's start here with the plugins. So these are repositories that keep kind of what plugins we have. So for example, we have the Garrett plugins that will install into Garrett and then send Eiffel events. We have support for some kind of plugin for Artifactory, send artifact events. We also have a Jenkins plugin. And as you notice here with the symbol, it's not located within the community repositories. So if you go to the Eiffel community page, you won't find it. It's like you locate it in the Jenkins space. We have this easy to use, which is the intention of helping people getting started. You could probably question if it's that easy to use. And we probably could add in more getting started guides, because that can be a little bit of a hurdle getting started with it there. But there is something there. It's used basically, you spin it up, and I think we're actually going to have, hopefully going to have a demo a little bit on this one tomorrow. We have a bunch of libraries, and these are something that you can't use them out of the box, but you actually have to put code around them. I'll talk a little bit more on that one when I list the SDKs. Then we got a bunch of repositories that is for the community itself. And we have the community repo. This is a pretty soft thing where we have all the community files. We have, for example, summit presentations, technical committees, protocols, and so on. We have then another one for the webpage that we have. .github is specific GitHub. We also have a playground repository if you want to do extensive testing with some integrations and you don't want to pollute your own repository. You use this playground repository. And then we have a template repository for creating new projects. So if we talk a little bit about the meat of it, we have this specification architecture group. Here we have the Eiffel protocol. So the protocol is then its own repository. And this one is, as you see, is graduated, and it's the only one that got graduated. We talked previously before about this sepia. That's also there, like an architecture. Yeah. We do have some attempts at visualization, and not very easy to do, as we said before, because you probably want to adapt it to your own processes and want to visualize your own processes. But there are some attempts. Vichy and Eiffel Store is based mainly provided by university for visualization. I don't know if you can run those in production. Access wasn't too happy with that in production. So Access has, together with students, started with this Eiffel Viz, which also is something outside. Hopefully you can see it inside. If you have any questions on it, check with Magnus or Fred here. We have some support for sending events. So we have this REM, which is basically a way for REST calls and send events. And as you notice, this one here is not just one repository, but it's a bunch of repositories. And I should also say that all of these ones here are clickable. So if you click on this, you will get to a page where you'll see all the components in the REM. Another attempt to that one called the Eiffel Simple Event Center. Written JavaScript, not that well maintained, but it's there. And mentioned before, event processing. We got the Eiffel Intelligence. I don't know if it's intelligent as it is, but it's the idea is of aggregating together all the events to an object and then being notified about it, so you can actually call back a REST when something has happened. We'll have a little bit more discussions during the aggregation, I think today. Then, if you're not listening live, you might want to store events and go back to them later on. So Ericsson has an own event repository that is unfortunately not open sourced. But here we got some things to help you. Access has started with this Goer, with the idea is to have an event repository where you can store your events. For testing, we have got this Eiffel test orchestration system for running and organizing tests. If you have any questions on it, I think that Fredrik here is the most competent person to ask there. And then we also have, we talked about seed events. So here we have two repositories, one for, this is start of a translator, and it's pretty ad hoc right now, but the seed events protocol isn't that stable, but the idea is to do it there. And then also we have a demo on integration between seed events and Eiffel, how they could coexist. So that is a short rundown of the landscape. So do we have any comments or questions?
The comment in the chat.
So the chat says, I can access Go SDK for Eiffel events, but I cannot get any SDK for .NET. Not sure why.
Yeah, so there is an SDK for .NET. It's unfortunately not up to the latest version of this Eiffel protocol right now, I think. But yes, it does exist, and I think it's published to some central repository as well, right? It's called the Nuggets. Yeah.
Hmm?
So, yeah, it exists and it's here.
We can go into that one, because that was what I was going to talk later on. Thank you for that. Is there any other questions or comments from the landscape before we go into SDKs? No?
Well, what's in the Eiffel comments?
The Eiffel Commons is kind of like a Java library for containing the common code for other. So if there are usually.
Is it used throughout all different components, or?
There are several components using commons where they have some functions that are common for many Java libraries.
Right.
So that's what the idea of that one to extract it. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? So about SDKs, we've got 4 of them. So if we start with REM semantics, this is not really an SDK per se. It's part of the REM suite written in Java, where it's actually you can generate these JSONs with it. For Python, we have the Python lib, and then we have 2 that I call real SDKs. They were developed from start as SDKs. So we have here one for Go and one for .NET. And also both of these ones here, they have support for multiple editions. So if you go into them, you can specify, I want to send an event with this edition. So that is there. And then also Go SDK is provided by Access, and .NET is from DoWine. And the friends at DoWiles here have provided, when they implemented this, the .NET SDK, they also implemented a feature of security. So the Eiffel protocol has a possibility to basically take an event, hash it, incorporate that hash inside your event, so you know if it has been tampered with or not. And that is actually supported with the .NET SDK. So any questions or comments on this one?
I can mention, as I mentioned before, that the SDK unfortunately for .NET is unfortunately not on the latest edition. We did build it, so it should be reasonably easy to update. We just haven't done it. Maybe when you and I can get cracking on that at some day. To the latest version. Yeah.
When you say that the first ones are not really SDKs, you mean don't use them, or is it they're limited, or?
So repeating the question, if I said the first ones are not real SDKs, what do I mean by that? It's more like a heads up. If you go into the REM semantics, you can find the messages there, you can send them. But if you go in, for example, .NET SDK, you got provided examples for how do I use this in my code, how can I generate message, and so on. So it's more thought of as an SDK. It's more user friendly. If you, for example, the REM semantics, you probably might do a little bit of reverse engineering to figure out how it works and so on. So it's those type of things.
And also, I'm not sure, at least not REM semantics, I'm not sure if you can actually parse messages or events into Java objects, but you can definitely go in the other direction. So, but the Python lib is definitely can be used for parsing, but it doesn't. On the other hand, it doesn't really parse into high-level object. Everything is just a nested dict anyway, so it's not super convenient to work with. But again, the Go and .NET SDKs are meant for in both directions and supporting any version, or at least multiple versions.
Mm.
And if anyone would like to work on a Java SDK, that will be appreciated in many places.
Any other questions, comments?